super excited today to join my buddy JaVon.
Cheers.
Our White Claw Wednesday, our Woman Crush Wednesday. Now, the funny thing about JaVon and I is we went to the same school, right?
Yeah, but not at the same time.
Not at the same time. Somehow we found each other through a mutual friend, like people who are younger than me but older than you and somewhere in the middle. We got connected, and I seriously was like, screw all those other people. All I need is like JaVon and I have been messaging nonstop for the past decade, and we've only hung
true.
out twice,
like 2 or 3 times. Yeah,
I need to hang out with her to know something happens, and I'm like, let me tell her this. Like, you'll appreciate this, JaVon. So, JaVon, tell us a little bit about your educational background.
Sure. Yeah. So, like you said, we both went to St. Mary's back in the day, which is crazy. Like how long ago that was. I don't feel that old, but
no.
and we were actually both Spanish students, right? Did you do a dual program?
Yeah.
I did
Spanish.
Spanish and so I graduated with Spanish, but also like took a ton of anthropology classes. And then somewhere decided I was going to become, it's funny you became a Spanish teacher. I had intended to become a Spanish teacher, and then pivoted to social work. So I took a bunch of psychology classes so that I could get my social work degree. So all of that really plays a big part into like how I practice social work. Like I'm coming with the anthropology background. I'm coming with the Spanish international languages and cultures background. I have psychology because it's like a requirement, but but really I'm also coming with those other 2 perspectives. So I really approach my work with like, who are people within the culture that they belong to? What's valuable to people in their culture? How can I help them with whatever it is that what they're asking me to help them with the idea of like their culture in mind.
And another reason why you should get a liberal arts education. Not just going out there, we're all just robots trained for 1 degree. We have other perspectives.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah. And I from
seriously.
No, but I think for me it has been a really unique approach to social work, for better or worse. I don't know that I've seen it a lot with a lot of my colleagues. I mean, the colleagues that I like feel close to, I think are coming from sort of similar perspectives, but it wasn't taught in our program at all. It was just kind of like, also everybody's not white. And then, you're supposed to work with that. And those of us who aren't white are like, yeah, we know. And the people who are just kind of like, I'm culturally competent because I think about the fact that you're not white. So it's been cool. And with St. Mary's, by the time I got there, their study abroad program had really flourished. And I was super fortunate. They sent me to 5 different countries, and I didn't pay anything extra for any of those trips. So thanks.
Yeah. And you
but yeah, all of that
in the past couple years you got back from.
So just a little short of a year ago, I got back from Ghana, where I lived for a year, the Gold Coast, under the colonial title Gold Coast. So I lived there for a year. I was a Fulbright fellow. I did some research on I did some research on parenting during the first 5 years of life, because that's really that's a time where a lot of our like long-term development is sort of happening, but we don't all think about it that way. And so I was really curious to know, like, how do they do it here? Because it seems like there's some good stuff happening, but when you sort of like do.
Can I link your blog that you had when you were in Ghana?
Sure. Yeah. I don't think I said anything that I'm like nervous about.
No, all of us who are struggling with parenting young children during this crisis, I think it would be good to get some perspective as far as like, am I screwing them for the rest of their lives? Or what are the important parts? What are the non-important parts? I remember I read JaVon's blog like religiously, so I'll put it below about being in a different country and getting different perspectives and how to bring that back and make it relevant to you. I think that would be cool.
Yeah.
So
okay, share it.
I will. So tell me, I know that right now you are kind of between careers, and this is kind of the time where one might not want to be between careers. So tell us during the pandemic.
So, fun story. When I made the decision to go to Ghana, in what my plan was, I'm a planner. I'm like, I'm going to do this and this and this. It's going to go this way. And it usually does. And so I made the decision to go to Ghana. And in my mind, I was like, all right, I know that it usually takes about 3 to 4 months to get a job, right? So 3 to 4 months out, I'm going to start looking for work. So ideally, I'll have a job either right as I'm getting home or within a couple of months of me getting home. And I make sure that I have enough savings to like make it work, right? And then fun thing happened. I found out I needed to have surgery, and that surgery was going to have a long recovery period. And so I did not look for work because I didn't know when I was going to have the surgery, how long I was going to be out, all of that. And because American healthcare is super complicated, it took 6 months between the time that I got home and the time that I actually had the surgery. And that put me at, I had my surgery the week before Maryland shut down. So I was like, oh, it's fine. My life's been on hold for this for the last 6 months, but I'm going to come out of this surgery. I'm going to start looking for work. I'm going to have a job right away.
Dun, dun, dun.
The pandemic hit.
But you're laughing about it, and that's why we
laugh to keep from crying, right? So yeah. But yeah, so that's kind of what happened. I mean, I had a little part-time gig with the school system, like super part-time, super small, because I wasn't well, so I didn't want to like have a full-time job where like I had to struggle to go to work. And so I like had just enough money to like cover my bills and stuff, but didn't have like a full-time job. So since the pandemic hit, like, I was already home trying to recover from the surgery anyway, and then everybody else was home too, and then there was like a market collapse. So I've really just been using this time. I had already sort of started the process of kind of like thinking through maybe what a pivot might look like for me. But now I have a lot more of that time because there's no like full-time work. And by that, I don't actually mean that I have a lot more time, because I do, but also like pandemic time is like not real time, like, like you can spend a whole day
something, then it's a time suck, then you're late for this, but then you're like, who cares, we're in a pandemic, and then your whole day is just like
your whole day is gone. Whole day is gone, and you did like 2 or 3 things, and then you have like that like capitalist anxiety of like
something, and then you're tired from it, but you're like, what did I do?
Yes, exactly. And you always have that capitalist anxiety of like, I'm not being productive enough, and I'm like, oh, I am being productive enough. I'm doing tons of stuff. I just, none of it is monetized, so yeah, I've been like exploring some ideas. How can I like incorporate the stuff that I know that I'm good at into something that will pay me money? I have a friend who has been like, hey, I might have some contract gig work for you. I've been, I have a little side hustle for myself where I make and sell stuff. I'm not currently doing that.
Hold on, JaVon, pause. Recording. Okay, you were talking about, I think you're talking about like your shop.
Yeah, so I make stuff, I sew, and so I was making masks for a little while, which I had to put on hold because it got to be too much for my body. But that helped a lot, as far as like just being able to pay for stuff. But also like now I am entertaining like ideas about how I can make something else, like, you know, other business ideas that are sustainable and that would use my social work background, but won't necessarily be social work. So yeah.
So maybe perhaps when we are done with the Zoom call, we can talk about
yes, we can chat.
The entrepreneurial aspect. Yes.
Yeah, I would love your thoughts.
And who you're living with right now during these times.
Yeah, during these unprecedented times.
I hate that.
I hate that phrase so much. I am thankfully my parents allowed me to move back in with them when I came back from Ghana, which has been a blessing and challenging, right, for all of us.
You seem to get along with your parents, enjoy their company. Of course, this has tested all boundaries, but one thing I will say is that you're always posting about how much you love your mom, how much you love your dad, and all that stuff. So at least
exactly,
this is what we have to work.
Yeah. Super thankful that I have this kind of relationship with them and that they allowed me to come back unexpectedly, you know, in my 30s. But is that like not the most millennial thing anyway? I mean, you know, like I had a health reason, so but it's almost a guarantee at some point, you know. So I'm here with my mom and my dad. My brother lives in the next county over. He comes to visit sometimes. Like he moved out and then I moved in, like swapped places.
He's probably like, got out just in time, bye.
And my parents are like, we thought we were gonna have an empty nest.
Nope, never. How old is your brother?
Sorry. He's 6 years younger than me, and I don't know how old I am, so I can't answer that.
Okay.
I will be 32 in a couple of weeks, so he will be 26 this year.
Got it.
Yeah.
So you're just living the millennial life right now. So
apparently so.
Finding your place in the world, living at home with your parents, and just doing it. Side gigs, you know, you're in the gig, you know.
Side gigs. I'm in the gig economy. Yeah, girl. I am the millennial right now.
I kind of love it. Though. I mean, you can't go full cliche, then what can you do? I know the answer to this next question, but I'm going to ask it as if I don't talk about it with you almost every day.
All the time.
What is your guilty pleasure during the pandemic and or in life in general?
I have watched so much RuPaul's Drag Race. RuPaul's Drag Race.
Start your engine. And just text about it. And when you were talking about parenting, that's another way that JaVon and I bond, is that I tell her all of the horrible things that my children repeat from RuPaul's Drag Race.
When they sashay away.
Yes. When they come into my office, my son goes, Shantae, you stay or sashay away? And like not even joking. He's just like, let me know.
He needs to know. Yeah. Excellent communication. Yeah. So it's really funny because I actually had never seen Drag Race until about a year ago. Can you believe that? I didn't have cable, so I just like never saw it. But while I was in Ghana, I was hanging out with some American kids, and they were like, they're my age, but they were like, hey, we're gonna watch Drag Race. Do you want to watch it with us? And I said, of course. And I want to tell you the episode. You're gonna know exactly what I'm talking about.
No.
Okay, so it was All Star 4, All Stars 4, and it's the episode. I can't even say it without laughing. It's the episode where like they're deciding whether or not to send Latrice home. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Latrice, I'm dead.
And so it's like, it was the very first thing that I saw. So it's like all of these grown men in like full makeup, like sequin gowns, and they're sobbing and like, I love you so much. I just, you're my best friend. And I was like, what am I watching? This is amazing. I'm hooked.
Latrice for me is one of the ones where when they get out of drag, you're like, what?
Wow.
What? That is a full-on situation.
Yeah. So that was like my entry to Drag Race was that episode. And so I watched all Stars 4 while I was overseas. And then once I had my surgery, I've seen every single season except for season 7. All the All-Star season, all the regular seasons. And I always thought that it was like a mean-spirited show, and so I just kind of wasn't interested in it. but then when I started from season 1, I was just like, wow, this is like a really beautiful, like amazing, creative.
Love somebody else. Can I get an amen?
Can I get an amen?
It is a beautiful story of self.
It's really
we
beautiful.
also bond over Queer Eye Japan.
Yes. Oh my God, all the tears.
I will watch. I don't really like rewatching Queer Eye is kind of like whatever, but if watching Queer Eye Japan is like for you and your cultural and your social work, you must have had a lot to unpack on that one. Oh,
girl, there's so much. It's so rich. It's so rich. Yeah, and I cry every time.
Oh my God, it's a beautiful, beautiful series. 10 out of 10.
It really is.
All right, what is the first thing on your agenda when you get back to normal life?
Oh my God, I can't wait to go salsa dancing.
Oh gosh, you're going like a haircut is different than like salsa dancing.
The haircut is like for my practical life because my hair is so much work. Mm-hmm. Like this took 2 days.
Yeah.
But I didn't wash, like this was after I had washed it and then I styled my hair and that took 2 days. But yeah, salsa, I miss it so much. I used to go minimum twice a month. Mm-hmm. Like minimum twice a month. When I lived in Baltimore, I had 2 or 3 places I would go to regularly. Yeah, man, I miss it so much. Yeah, you have like folks that you see all the time, and you're like, oh, I love to dance with that partner. That guy, not so much. I hope he doesn't ask me. Or you like have like women that are like really, really good that I'll be like studying. Like, how does she do that? But now I feel like my hips are like super stiff because they haven't moved in so long.
You'll have to find you some YouTube tutorials on how to get your groove back.
Yeah, warm back up. Yeah, it's a mess.
All right, so JaVon's versus salsa dancing. I didn't expect that. I thought you were going to really go in on the haircut, but you're like, no.
No, the haircut, it'll come. But the salsa, I can't do it unless the pandemic is over.
And like really over.
Like really, because you're like in close proximity with lots of people and everybody's breathing hard because they're moving around so much.
Getting me hot and bothered. All right. I'll be waiting on that one.
I'll call you. You can come out with me.
What has been your rose and your thorn of the pandemic? So, we obviously know there's been some issues with, you had your health issues and all that stuff, but the rose and the thorn, tell me the best and the worst part.
Yeah. So for me, the thorn has just kind of been, because I had a really non-traditional last 2 years of my life anyway, like not having a schedule has just sort of been part of my life. I did independent research overseas. So like, and in a place where like time is not linear.
And in the United States, if you ask me, time is just a loose construct.
It's just like maybe a thing, but not always. You never really know when it is and when it's not.
No.
So I actually was looking forward to having sort of more structure, and then that didn't happen. So for me, it's been difficult, just sort of like, it's difficult and also a blessing to like be working through sort of like I was saying, that capitalist anxiety of like, I have to be productive. My day needs to look like this. I need to like have this mindset about my life. But at the same time, it's like, I also would like to have a little bit of structure, a little bit of predictability in my days and times. But with that being said, because I'm on my own time, which is awesome, I've been able to do a lot of creative stuff. So I'm working on a project that I'm not going to share right now. But you and I can talk about it afterwards. That I would not be able to do if I were working full time. And it's like I was saying, thinking about how to extend my work, because I love children. I mostly have worked with young children and helping adults to see them as people, rather than just like mini adults or like mini versions of themselves. And so for me, a lot of my work centers around what does it mean to respect children as people. And so some of the creative work that I have lined up is sort of like in that same vein. And so it's part of my work, it's part of my vocation, but it's also artistic and creative. And so
okay, sorry, I'm already brainstorming. I know we're not going to talk about this now, but like,
yeah,
right now when people are trapped at home with their children, like this is the perfect time for them to be like encouraging them to have their own identities and start their own. All right, we'll workshop this later.
We'll talk.
I'm with you. I'm invested. This is Shark Tank.
Yes.
I'm all in. I'm all in on JaVon.
Let's do it.
Well, thank you for joining me today. We will talk about Drag Race a little bit later. I love you very much, and I can't wait to go.
Yes, I love you. Thank you. Cheers.